Welcome to another deep dive with My Mind MashUps. Have you ever felt like your brain is just constantly buzzing, jumping from one thing to the next, but rarely settling into anything truly meaningful? Or maybe you reach for your phone only to realize you've completely forgotten why you picked it up in the first place.
Yeah, it's a really common feeling. But what's fascinating here, I think, is that we're not just talking about like simple forgetfulness or maybe some bad habits.
Okay.
We're actually witnessing these fundamental shifts happening within your brain. The relentless pull of modern convenience, all that constant information, it's literally reshaping how you think, how you remember, even how you feel.
Wow. Okay, so it's actually changing our brains.
Exactly.
Today we're going to unpack exactly how this rewiring, as you called it, happens. We'll explore the brain's incredible capacity for change, scientists call it neuroplasticity, and then we'll reveal the hidden mental costs of living in this always-on world. We want to show you why maybe everything feels urgent, but nothing feels truly deep. And most importantly, what you can actually do to take back control of your amazing mind. So, this deep dive is for you. Whether you're, prepping for a big meeting, trying to focus on a new skill, or maybe just insanely curious about how your brain works. And hey, before we dive in, make sure to like, share, and subscribe or follow My Mind MashUps. It really helps us keep bringing you these deep dives into topics that matter to your mind.
Okay, so let's start with this idea of the brain's superpower. We hear our brains are amazing, but what does that really mean in practice?
Right.
You mentioned they're incredibly dynamic.
Yeah.
Constantly adapting, reorganizing.
Yeah.
Like a super flexible computer.
Exactly. Think of it like that. This remarkable capacity for change, that's what we mean by neuroplasticity.
Neuroplasticity.
But if we kind of connect this to the bigger picture, neuroplasticity is basically your nervous system's lifelong ability to reorganize its structure, its functions, its connections, all based on your experiences.
Lifelong. So not just when we're kids. No, absolutely not. It's an ongoing process. It's what lets us learn new things, form memories, and even recover after, say, a brain injury. It's fundamental to how we adapt.
How does it actually work then? Is it like metaphorical changes?
Oh, it's very physical. This raises an important question, right? How does it happen? Well, one way is structural plasticity. Your brain literally rewires itself.
Wow.
It grows new connections, new synapses. It gets rid of unused ones. It's called synaptic pruning. It can even change the branches of neurons to make more connections. It's a continuous physical modification.
So learning isn't just abstract, it's actual construction work in your head.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And then there's functional plasticity. This is more about changing the strength of the connections you already have.
Okay.
Think of it like turning the volume up or down on a communication line between neurons. Concepts like long-term potentiation, or LTP, strengthen connections you use often. Long-term depression, LTD, weakens the ones you don't.
Makes sense. Use it or lose it, sort of.
Kinda, yeah. And there's also functional reorganization, where one part of the brain can sometimes take over the function of another part if it's damaged.
Incredible.
And get this neurogenesis, even as adults, we can form new neurons, especially in the hippocampus. That's a brain region super important for learning and memory.
That's where it gets really interesting for me. The fact that this isn't just a childhood thing. Okay, younger brains might be more plastic, sure.
Right, they are more adaptable.
But our brains keep changing throughout our lives based on what we do, what we experience. You really can teach an old dog new tricks, neurologically speaking.
Absolutely. And what's fascinating here is how many things influence this adaptability. Age is one factor. Yes, plasticity might decrease a bit, but it's preserved. Older adults can definitely still learn and change their brains.
Good to know.
Injury or trauma, as I mentioned, can be powerful drivers. But sometimes that plasticity can be maladaptive, like in chronic pain conditions where the nervous system becomes overly sensitive.
Oh, okay, so it's not always positive change?
It's adaptive change, which isn't always beneficial for our goals. Yeah. And lifestyle factors are huge. Sleep, absolutely critical for memory consolidation. Exercise, brilliant for stimulating new neuron growth. Diet, things like antioxidants, B vitamins, omega-3s, like in a Mediterranean diet, are really important for brain health.
And stress.
Chronic stress. That's a big one. It releases cortisol, which in high doses over time can actually damage the hippocampus. So managing stress is key for healthy brain function.
Wow.
And of course, the environment, learning itself, consistent practice, repetition, all these directly strengthen neural connections. It really is a use it or lose it, and use it to improve it situation. Your brain is efficient. It reallocates resources based on demand.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? Every single time you learn a new skill, Maybe it's a language, maybe an instrument, maybe even just forming a new habit, like driving a different route to work until it becomes automatic. That's neuroplasticity in action.
That's it. Your brain is physically changing.
And it's the reason therapy and rehabilitation can work after brain injuries. They leverage this amazing inherent capacity for change, but there's always a but, isn't there?
Often, yes.
This incredible adaptability, this constant mental juggling, it comes at a price. Our brains, they aren't limitless energy factories, right?
Not at all.
Every cognitive process, every bit of thinking, focusing, deciding it incurs a cost. Mental effort, resources, even actual metabolic energy. These are what we call your cognitive costs.
That's a great way to put it. And what's fascinating here is how we can break down these costs. A key concept is cognitive load. It's basically the total mental effort being used in your working memory at any one time.
Cognitive load, okay.
We can think about different types. There's intrinsic load, just how difficult the thing you're trying to learn or do inherently is. Basic addition is low intrinsic load. Complex physics is high.
Got it.
Then there's extraneous load. This is the unnecessary stuff, the mental effort wasted because of poor design or distractions. Think of a really badly designed website or instructions that make no sense.
Right, that's frustrating.
Exactly. It drains your resources without helping you learn. The goal is always to minimize this extraneous load.
And the third type?
That's germane load. This is the good stuff. This is the effort you put into actually processing the information, understanding it deeply, connecting it to what you already know, building those mental models. Activities that promote critical thinking increase this beneficial load.
Okay, so how does this cognitive load idea connect back to our modern world, especially with tech?
Well, think about this. Have you ever felt your phone practically vibrating in your pocket, even when it's off or silent across the room?
Oh, totally. Like it's calling to me.
Right. That feeling, that's cognitive load. Research actually shows that just the presence of your smartphone, even if it's off and face down, reduces your available cognitive capacity.
Just its presence, wow.
Yeah, because a part of your brain is actively working, subconsciously, to resist the urge to pick it up and check it. That mental effort is a drain. It fragments your attention.
That makes so much sense. It's like this background noise.
Exactly. And this constant drain, this constant distraction, it leads to what we call attention depletion, or just plain mental fatigue. Our ability to focus, to filter out what's irrelevant, to prioritize information, it's a limited resource, and it diminishes over time, especially with constant multitasking, interruptions, noise, or not enough sleep.
And what does that look like? How do you know if your attention is depleted?
You might notice you're more easily distracted, maybe more impatient. You might forget things more often, feel irritable, or even find your judgment isn't quite as sharp as usual.
Okay, yeah, I think we can all relate to some of that. Now, here's where it gets really interesting for me, the tech itself. It feels like it's designed to do this to us.
Oh, absolutely. Much of it is engineered to hijack our dopamine reward system.
Dopamine, right, the pleasure chemical.
Kind of. It's more about motivation and reward seeking. Things like autoplay videos, those endless scrolling feeds, constant notifications, they give you these tiny, unpredictable hits of dopamine. It feeds that I want it now, novelty-seeking part of our brain.
And the effect?
Well, some studies call this popcorn brain. Your attention gets shattered into tiny pieces by this constant stream of novel stimuli. Your brain starts craving these short, exciting bursts over sustained, deep focus.
So deep work actually starts to feel painful.
It can, yeah. Your brain gets conditioned for the quick hit, making it harder to stick with something complex or nuanced that doesn't offer immediate gratification.
And this depletion, it leads to other costs too.
Definitely. Another really significant one is decision fatigue.
Decision fatigue, heard of it.
It's this state of mental overload that happens when you make too many decisions over the course of a day, big or small. It impairs your ability to make subsequent high-quality choices. Think of willpower or self-control like a muscle gets tired.
So choosing what to wear, what to eat, responding to emails, it all adds up.
It all adds up, and the indicators are pretty clear. Behaviorally, you might start procrastinating more, maybe make impulsive choices like that unplanned online purchase late at night.
Oh.
Or you just default to the easiest option, whatever requires the least thought. Cognitively, you might experience that brain fog, have trouble concentrating. Emotionally, you just feel drained, overwhelmed, maybe a bit snippy.
So tying this back to convenience, what does this all mean for you, for the listener? We're using technology for everything. GPS means we don't need to remember routes, calendars manage our schedules, AI might draft our emails.
We're doing what's called cognitive offloading, letting external tools do the thinking for us.
Which sounds efficient, right?
It is, in the short term. But the concern is, when your brain stops needing to perform certain functions like remembering information, navigating space, reasoning through a problem, it can start, well, lose the ability to do those things effectively. The neural pathways aren't being used, so they weaken.
Use it or lose it again.
Pretty much. And it's not just about forgetting birthdays or where you parked. It potentially affects deeper things. Our ability to reason critically, to reflect deeply, to form rich, lasting memories tied to effort and context.
So this tech convenience isn't just changing what we do.
It's changing who we are, potentially. How our minds work at a fundamental level.
How do scientists even measure these costs? They seem so invisible.
Good question. We can't see mental effort directly, but we infer it. Subjective reports, like asking people how hard they feel they're working, are common.
Okay.
But there are also objective measures. Things like pupillometry, measuring pupil dilation, which it increases with mental effort, brain activity, using EEG, heart rate variability. Even eye tracking can show us where attention is focused and how hard the brain is working.
Wow.
And of course, behavioral measures. Slower reaction times, making more errors on a task, these directly indicate cognitive strain or fatigue. They help us quantify that invisible burden.
Okay, let's unpack this interplay then. We have this amazing brain adaptability, neuroplasticity, but also these cognitive costs. How do they relate? Is effort always good for plasticity?
It's a complex relationship. Effort is essential for beneficial adaptation, right? Learning something new, pushing yourself cognitively, that incurs costs. But it's precisely that effort that drives the strengthening of neural pathways. That's the good germane load we talked about.
Right.
However, and this is the plasticity paradox, as you call it, too much cognitive load, especially if it's chronic stress or overwhelming extraneous load, can actually backfire.
Backfire how?
It can lead to mental fatigue, burnout, chronic stress, and these states can actually hinder beneficial neuroplasticity. They can impair memory consolidation, reduce focus, and make learning harder. There seems to be an optimal zone of challenge, not too little, not too much.
Like the Goldilocks zone for brain strain?
Exactly. Insufficient challenge leads to stagnation. Excessive unmanaged strain leads to depletion and can even cause harm over time.
So if we connect this to the bigger picture, what are the real consequences of being in that excessive strain zone for too long?
The consequences are pretty serious across the board. First, there's the impact on cognitive performance itself. Sustained high load makes deep processing difficult. You might find you have memory gaps or struggle to really learn new, complex information. Your attention span demonstrably shrinks. Your brain literally gets worse at filtering out irrelevant stuff.
I feel like I experience that sometimes.
And interruptions become incredibly costly. Research suggests it can take, on average, around 23 minutes to fully regain deep focus after being interrupted.
23 minutes, that's huge.
It is. And decision-making suffers too. When you're overloaded, you make more errors, rely more on biases or shortcuts, and struggle with complex choices.
And it's not just about thinking clearly, right? It hits our emotions too.
Oh, absolutely. This isn't just about task performance. It cuts deep into emotional and psychological well-being. Constant mental demands are a major driver of chronic stress.
Which we know is bad for the brain.
Exactly. It can lead to anxiety, emotional exhaustion, irritability, low mood.
Yeah.
All the hallmarks of burnout.
Yeah.
Your self-esteem can take a hit when you feel like you can't keep up. And that decision fatigue we mentioned, it can create this really nasty, vicious cycle. You make poor choices because you're tired, which leads to more problems, more stress, more fatigue.
That sounds draining.
It is.
So what does this all mean for you listening? These cognitive costs, they're often, as we said, invisible.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily feel your cognitive load meter rising until, bam, you hit a wall.
Right. You feel the consequences, the performance drop, the burnout, the emotional distress, but not necessarily the buildup.
This invisible burden means we often push ourselves way past our optimal limits without even realizing it. And here's where it gets really interesting. You mentioned this feedback loop of depletion.
Yes. When our cognitive resources are low, our brain, quite cleverly in a way, tries to conserve energy by prompting behaviors that feel easier in the moment. Things like procrastinating on hard tasks, seeking out distractions, making impulsive choices that offer quick gratification, avoiding effortful thinking.
So scrolling social media instead of tackling that report.
Exactly. It provides short-term relief from the discomfort of mental effort.
Yeah.
But These behaviors are often maladaptive in the long run. They lead to poorer outcomes, more stress down the line, and they perpetuate the cycle of depletion and inefficiency.
It feels like we're stuck.
It can feel that way. And this raises an important question, maybe even a philosophical one. If convenience feels so good, if offloading tasks is efficient, why does it seem to come with such a hidden cost?
Yeah.
Philosophers and thinkers have warned about this for ages, haven't they? That too much ease can dull critical thinking, that growth, understanding, meaning, they often require some degree of friction, some effort.
Struggling through a problem builds understanding in a way that just getting the answer doesn't.
Precisely. When everything is instant and easy, our brain can adapt to that, craving the quick hit, the novelty, the path of least resistance. Depth and focus become harder, less rewarding neurologically.
Okay, so this sounds a bit bleak, but the point isn't to make everyone feel guilty about using GPS, right?
Not at all. The point is awareness and strategy.
So what can you do? How do we get our minds back, manage these costs, and still leverage that amazing neuroplasticity?
Right. We need strategies that work on both sides of the equation. Enhancing the beneficial aspects of neuroplasticity and actively mitigating those cognitive costs and depletion.
Okay, let's start with boosting the good stuff. How do we encourage healthy brain change?
First up, probably the most powerful thing, physical exercise. Regular activity is like fertilizer for the brain. It stimulates neurogenesis, improves connections, increases crucial growth factors. It directly boosts cognitive function, memory, executive function.
Any kind of exercise.
Aerobic exercise seems particularly good, but really anything that gets you moving helps. Even things like yoga or tai chi, those mind-body practices are beneficial.
Good. What else?
Adequate sleep, non-negotiable. Sleep is when your brain does its housekeeping, consolidating memories, clearing out waste products, recalibrating synapses. It's crucial.
Okay, sleep and exercise. The usual suspects, but clearly vital.
They really are. Then balanced nutrition. We mentioned omega-3s, antioxidants, B vitamins. A healthy diet supports brain structure and function directly. Think whole foods, less processed stuff.
Makes sense.
And actively challenge your brain. Environmental enrichment and cognitive training. Learn that language, pick up that instrument, do complex puzzles, engage in hobbies that require focus and learning. Keep stimulating your brain.
Use it or lose it, but
Yeah.
also use it to improve it.
Exactly. Mindfulness and meditation are also powerful. Practices focused on present moment awareness can lead to measurable structural changes in the brain, improve emotional regulation, build resilience to stress.
I keep hearing about mindfulness.
It really seems to help buffer against that constant mental chatter. And finally, don't underestimate social engagement. Strong social connections, meaningful interactions, they actually boost neuroplasticity too. We're social creatures.
Okay, so those are ways to build a more resilient, adaptable brain. Now, how do we manage the drain, the cognitive costs, day to day?
This is about being strategic with our limited resources. First, structured routines and automation. Simplify your life where you can. Set routines for mundane tasks. Automate repetitive decisions like meal planning or paying bills. This frees up mental energy.
Reduce decision fatigue before it starts.
Precisely. Next, strategic task management. Don't just have a massive to-do list. Prioritize ruthlessly. Maybe try the rule of 3. Identify the 3 most important things you need to accomplish today, and batch similar tasks together. Answer all your emails at once, make all your calls together. Reduces that costly context switching.
That switching really kills productivity, doesn't it?
It's a huge energy drain. And this one is critical. Regular breaks and digital detox. Take short breaks frequently throughout your workday. Step away, move around, rest your eyes. And consciously schedule time away from screens. A digital detox, even for an hour or 2, can help your focus recover and lower mental fatigue. Fight back against the constant distraction.
Easier said than done sometimes, but important.
Definitely. Also, optimize your environment. Minimize distractions where you work or study. Turn off notifications. Find a quiet space if possible. Reducing that extraneous load we talked about makes a big difference.
Control what you can control.
Right. And practice mindful engagement and reflection. Try to be intentional about where your mental energy goes. Notice when you're just ruminating or mindlessly scrolling and gently redirect your focus. Mindfulness helps with this too.
And finally,
Seek support and simplify choices. You don't have to figure everything out alone. Talk through big decisions with trusted friends or colleagues. And for less critical choices, consciously simplify. Limit your options, or adopt a good enough mindset instead of always striving for the absolute best, which can be exhausting.
Okay, those are really practical strategies. So we want to leave you with a little challenge, the My Mind MashUps challenge, let's call it.
Sounds good. Here it is. For the next 3 days, just try this. Day 1, silence all non-essential notifications on your phone, and physically move your phone out of your direct line of sight for a solid 2-hour block while you're trying to focus. Just notice how that feels.
Okay, day 1. Phone out of sight, notifications off for 2 hours.
Day 2, swap 30 minutes of your usual screen time, whether that's scrolling, watching videos, whatever, for something hands-on, something tangible. Draw, stretch, cook something simple, go for a walk without headphones. Engage your senses differently.
Day 2, 30 minutes less screen, 30 minutes more real-world stuff. Got it.
Day 3, take 5 minutes to journal or just reflect. What did you notice over the last 2 days? Anything about your focus, your mood, your energy levels, any resistance? Just observe without judgment.
Day 3, reflect. That sounds doable.
Small steps, big impact potentially.
Okay, so wrapping up today's deep dive. We've explored this fascinating, complex dance between your brain's incredible ability to change neuroplasticity and those hidden mental demands, the cognitive costs of our modern, hyper-convenient world. We've seen how that constant digital pull can create an invisible burden, really impacting your focus, your memory, and even just your overall sense of well-being.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating, I think, is remembering that while putting in cognitive effort is absolutely necessary for growth and learning.
Right, that germane load.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But unmanaged, excessive strain, especially chronic stress or distraction, it can actually undermine your brain's resilience. Understanding that balance is key, and recognizing that feedback loop where feeling depleted leads to choices that deplete you further, that's crucial if you want to intervene effectively.
So just trying harder isn't always the answer.
Often it isn't. Strategic action, managing your energy and environment, that's the answer.
So what does this all mean for you? The big takeaway. Your brain isn't this fixed thing. It's incredibly dynamic. It's constantly responding, adapting, reshaping itself based on how you use it, day in and day out. So the provocative thought for today is this. Are you actively cultivating a resilient, focused, and flourishing cognitive landscape through your choices? Or are you perhaps unintentionally letting the allure of convenience shape your brain in ways that might limit your full potential?
It's an invitation, really.
An invitation to maybe choose intentional effort, choose meaning, over just immediate ease, at least some of the time. This has been another deep dive from My Mind MashUps. If you found this helpful, if it sparked some thoughts, please do like, share, and subscribe or follow us. It helps others find the show. You can find My Mind MashUps on Amazon Music, Audible, Facebook, Pocket Casts, Spotify, and YouTube, all the places. We didn't come this far just to come this far.
This is My Mind MashUps.